Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Get out there, play hard, enjoy those games.
Big Penn East Division, here we go, youngster. It is the third preview show. We're ready to rock and roll. I'm Old Man Troy, joined by the Snake Charmer, Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny on Twitter. It's here, youngster. Moving to the Big Ten East Division. Can't even talk. I'm so excited about talking about the bottom three teams over there. I'm trying to get myself all jacked up and worked up today. You know, on the last preview show, guess what we didn't do?
What's that?
We didn't tell our big listeners about your story, why you're the Snake Charmer.
We didn't? Oh, no.
Not on the big show. On the radio we did.
Correct. Yeah.
Not on the big show.
Yes. Radio we are covered. I'll try and be a little quick with my story here for the Big Ten because those listening in want to hear about good old Rutgers and or Maryland, who was also in the bottom three of the East, and might surprise some people.
Michigan State then, though.
That I forgot that Michigan State was a bottom three Big East team a year ago. So they were not even in the top four of their own division, which obviously
they were number one in players entering the transfer portal, though. every week another one went in.
I don't even have to look that up to second check that one. But anyway, before we get into those three teams on this week's show, or on this show, I should say, I did have a snake story. I'll be quick. A couple weeks ago, I returned home from my little grocery store job, and that was at around 11 o'clock. I was closing that night, and I went to my little man cave area, if you want to call it that, watched TV for like an hour, went to bed at around midnight. My wife laying there in the bed. She's awake. My dog laying there in the bed at midnight, dead to the world asleep. So I start getting into the bed, and I look out as soon as I get out from the bed, and it looks like there's a long shoelace on the ground. And I stare at it for like 5-10 seconds, and then I'm like, oh, expletive. It's a snake. There's a snake. And my wife's like, oh my God, you know. And she can't see it based on her, like, vantage points. She doesn't know what's going on. I was like, oh my God, there's a freaking, basically a 2-foot-long snake on the ground right next to the bed. By the way, I don't have, yes, it is, quote-unquote, the master bedroom, but I live in a third-story apartment. This is not some spacious master bedroom I'm talking about here. This is a normal bedroom in terms of size. So
Come on a journalist's salary, you should be living in at least a 5-bedroom house on the lake.
Yeah, journalist / produce, produce worker. Yeah, that's bringing in the big bucks. But so I stepped 1 foot away from this snake, honestly. I'm kind of surprised I didn't step on the snake on my way into the bed. That would have sucked. Although, at the same time, I guess I could have instantly killed it and ended everyone's misery.
That would have just added a little more intensity to this story, because I know you and I know rodents and bugs.
Yeah.
And he'd even mentioned it. Those that can harm you, you try to stay away from them. Like you said, you didn't know what kind of snake this was. It probably was nothing more than your run-of-the-mill garden snake. But you don't know that. It could have been a baby boa. You don't know that.
Correct. So I wasn't going to mess with this thing, play fetch with it. I wasn't going to do that. I was not messing around. So I didn't personally do anything because I didn't have anything equipped to deal with a 2-foot-long snake. I know.
I would have called a snake charmer.
Call me a wuss, call me whatever you want. But I called the apartment's maintenance line, and because they have a person on 24/7 because they get free rent living here. That's the exchange they have. So kind of cool, kind of terrible, but there's perks to things. So guy eventually came like half an hour later, and he had one of those like 3-foot, 4-foot long pickers.
Well, you probably woke him up at midnight.
Oh, probably. Yeah, absolutely. I had to call twice within like 20 minutes of time because I called somewhere else for in between because they weren't answering back. So anyway, to conclude the story, he had one of those little picker clamp things, got the snake, eventually tried tossing it out on the third-story balcony and, missed, I guess, a couple of times before he actually got it. But anyway, so, yeah, I had like a close to 2-foot-long snake on my bedroom floor that I just walked right past at midnight. So
that's great.
That was a fun.
I'm so happy you had a story because I feel like I'm the one all the time with the story.
Right.
It's great listening to youngster story time. Awesome.
Yes, doesn't happen often, but when it does,
I do want to throw this out though, youngster, and I talked to you about it today, and I put a little clip on LinkedIn. If we have any listeners that are in Generation Z, which means you're 25 and younger, the youngster and I would like to add a segment since we've got myself in what's considered Gen Y. I'm Gen X. Youngsters Gen Y. We'd like to get Gen Z, so we'd have X, Y, and Z on the show. So if you are under 25, listen in. You like sports, if you're listening to the show, you like the Big Ten, find me on Twitter at TroyRobert967 or at YoungsterOldMan. Follow us. Shoot us a message. We're looking to add a 15 to 20-minute segment at the end of every Go Big show to get the perspective of 3 generations of sports fans. I think it would be pretty cool. Even though the youngster and I agree a lot, we do disagree on some things. I don't think we're going to disagree on today's show, though, youngster. Like I said, I came in hooting and hollering, trying to get myself worked up. You said, go big today this morning. Well, I don't know what time it was, 6 o'clock Central Time. I don't know. And I sent back the little Z signs, and you're like, taking a nap? I'm like, no, that's the way the show's going to go today. And I'm sorry, Rutgers fans. I'm sorry, Maryland fans. And honestly, I did forget this morning. I thought it was Indiana. So I apologize. But you know what? Sarcastically speaking, in all reality, I've said this not just this year, not last year. I don't believe that Rutgers should be playing Big Ten football. I just don't. Now, basketball has turned it around, but football, maybe they can. But, man, I've been saying this since they added schools to the Big Ten. Why Rutgers? Maryland, kind of on the same boat. It's a mediocre to an above mediocre team. Sometimes we can say teams like Northwestern who caught lightning in a bottle. Minnesota's moving up. Teams like this, eventually, they have that 1 year. Is Maryland ever going to have a year like that? I mean, I just look back at the history of football and go, really? Okay, well, here we are. Unfortunately, I think every year we do this show from here on out, when we do the third preview show, we're going to be talking about Rutgers and Maryland every year, which means they're the bottom of the Big Ten East.
Right. If Maryland were to get it right, this is the best time to get it right. Not saying this year in particular, but with this coaching staff and the talent they're bringing in and whatnot, I don't see how it can get that much better as far as an opportunity. Anyway.
What's the best they're going to finish, youngster? Third? Maybe they beat Michigan 1 year?
I think they can pull, if they got things together, I think they can pull one upset. I think it takes Penn State being down a year, Michigan being down a year, and you can be on a level playing field, especially with the way Michigan State's playing football. I think it's possible. Given looking at the talent that they have.
Oh, you millennials are so hopeful, so optimistic for people.
I think if
I'm just in a dark cloud area. There's no way Maryland's ever finishing better than fourth. Ever. Rutgers, never going to be in the top 3. I will. If that happens, if Rutgers finishes in the top 3, I will take a hiatus from this show for a month. You can just do it solo. There's no way Rutgers is ever finishing in the top 3, even in their best year.
Let's get to Rutgers. Last year they were 2-10 overall, 0-9 in the Big Ten. That's nothing really new. It's nice they won 2 games. Here's the big thing: is they have a new head coach. It's Greg Schiano, and he had Rutgers up in the top 10 in the country at one point. So he has had success at this program. It was a different time. It was the Big East. It was not the Big Ten. I'm not saying he's going to bring Rutgers back to the top 10 nationally, but if you want someone who knows how to have success at Rutgers, recruit at Rutgers, bring in guys that work for his system at Rutgers, can be a capable football team, this would be the guy, since he has gotten them to a top 10 ranking. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. Now, you can say, what's he actually going to do at Rutgers? Go 4-8 every year? Okay, maybe, but who else are you bringing in? You're not getting anyone really good, in my opinion, to go to Rutgers.
No, that was a great hire. It really was. Yeah. And the argument of going 4-8, though, youngster, what he's got to do in the cupcake games when we get back to normal football without COVID is he's got to schedule games that he can win. Because in the Big Ten, if he can get them competitive, okay, you can beat Maryland, and then you can beat Indiana. If he gets the program at a level where he used to have it, so you got 2 wins in the East, then maybe you, like you said, pull an upset. So there's 3 wins in the conference. You go across the conference, and hopefully you can get a Purdue, you can get Illinois, get one of those, couple of those games. But honestly, Kevin, look at it. And I'm not being a big, saying, I'm going to hate on Rutgers.
No, look at this. The quote-unquote hate and, level of optimism that is not there is warranted. I mean, they've been absolutely this team, what was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they lost to Kansas by like 30. It's like that's when I knew, holy cow, this program absolutely sucks. This program blows. This program, fill in the blank. Like, there's no better way to put it when you lose to Kansas by like 30, 40 points. Because Kansas, to me, if you truly asked me 3-4 years ago who the worst Power 5 conference team was, I would have said Kansas. And then Kansas just blew out Rutgers. I was like, wow, this is this is your clearly worst Power 5 team by far. And that's just the way it has been the last few years. So you're not being harsh. You're not being a hater. That's just the reality of it. Like, anyone can give Ohio State love in the Big Ten because they've just been so good, and they make college football playoffs, and they've won a college football playoff, and they consistently win the Big Ten. Like, that's not being an Ohio State lover. That's just the reality of it the last, 5 or so years. That's just it. That's just the way it's been. And Rutgers has been absolutely atrocious. That's just the way it's been. That's not hating, or there's not loving a team that's phenomenal. That's just fact. Rutgers has absolutely sucked. Sorry,
so what does he have to work with this year as he comes in his first year, Kevin? Well, first year of his second stint with Rutgers.
Yes. Let me read you off my little notebook here I have in front of me. It's not a literal notebook, but you get the point. So Sean Gleason is now the offensive coordinator. He was Oklahoma State's offensive coordinator. Oklahoma State's had good offensive coordinators over the years. They've had good offenses, I should say, over the years. So this is nice. A guy that has put up points at another Power 5 school. Can you guess, Troy, in the last 11 years? So last 11 years of Rutgers football, Sean Gleason is how many different offensive coordinators? Sean Gleason is the what offensive coordinator in the last 11 years for Rutgers?
12.
Almost 11. So they've had a new offensive coordinator every single year.
Really? There wasn't a year where they let their offensive coordinator go and replaced him in the middle of the year?
That's not crazy.
That's what I was banking on. That happened 1 year.
Right.
I guess I was wrong.
You're not crazy in that thinking. So again, just a funny stat. Not funny if you're a Rutgers fan. Art Sitkowski is supposed to be back to be the quarterback. He ended up choosing to sit after playing 4 games so that he could use his red shirt because the team was just that abysmal. And at one point he entered the transfer portal, and he eventually came back with Greg Schiano's hiring. So he is, he was supposed to go to the University of Miami a couple years ago when he was in high school, but he chose Rutgers instead, which at the time was pretty big. Not that Miami was a college football powerhouse 2 years ago, but it's notable for Rutgers to steal a fairly high-profile quarterback away from Miami. So that was interesting at the time. He's supposed to be the guy. He has been not good. Then again, what quarterback would be good at Rutgers, to be honest with you?
Yeah, you need players.
Right. So I don't put all the blame on Sitkowski for saying, oh, look at him, he sucks. Look at his stats. Well, no. Look at the offensive line, look at the running game, look at the pass catchers, look at the defense, look at X, Y, and Z. Look at 11 different offensive coordinators in 11 years. There's no continuity whatsoever. So
that's an issue right there, youngster. I'm glad you brought that stat up. I mean, there is no program, whether you're college or pro, that you can keep changing the system year in and year out and expect your offense to click.
Right.
I mean, it's like you're learning new things every year.
I mean, what year was it, Troy, that the Atlanta Falcons, I know I'm kind of going off on a stream limb here, but the Atlanta Falcons had like Matt Ryan, their head coach, Julio Jones, a good running game. They had that system in place under Shanahan at the time, running that offense for how many years? And then finally they broke through and they reached the Super Bowl and they were like a top 10 offense in NFL history. Like it just all came together 1 year. And they should have won the Super Bowl. They were up by 25 points. It just takes time.
If there's any Falcon fans out there, you just poured salt on all their wounds.
Yeah, I did. My apologies. But it takes time to get, the Heat build a super team with LeBron and Wade and Bosh and three-point shooters. Oh, my God, this team, title after title after title.
I'll even go more recent, youngster. The Green Bay Packers from last year to this year. You knew that I had questioned Matt LaFleur after last year, saying this offense looked no different than Mike McCarthy's. This year, totally different. A lot of movement, a lot of motion, and the Packers are putting up nearly 40 points a game.
Yeah. Yeah. Having continuity helps. It helps the coaches. It helps the players. That's ask any player, ask any coach. Year 2 in a system as opposed to year 1. I mean, it's almost night and day. So anyway, Isaiah Pacheco is a decent returning running back. He's been, you can say, productive. By the way, Rutgers has Noah Vidal for some Big Ten crazy fans out there. He's a Nebraska transfer. He had, I believe, some playing time when Adrian Martinez has gone down in the past. So that's another name to look for, I guess, if it's truly not Sitkowski going forward. And I will say this, like I've said on the other preview shows, that sorry if I get 1 or 2 facts wrong, a number, a whatever, because of this kind of off season and the way it's gone, I may have missed something, or I may have honestly just misheard something. So don't take this.
Are you telling me that Kid Cunny is human and makes mistakes?
Yes, I might make.
Unbelievable! After 5 years of doing shows together, you're admitting you're human.
I like to admit when I'm wrong. I'm just getting that out there. Over this football off season, yes. Maryland, when we talk about Maryland, may have 4 returning linebackers as opposed to 5. I may have missed it. My apologies, because one player came back as opposed to leaving or not playing because of COVID. I'm sorry if I get something wrong like that. So, anyway, just wanted to mention that. Bo Melton, team's top receiver for Rutgers. He returns. That helps. You have a new offensive coordinator, obviously, like I mentioned. You also have a new defensive coordinator, Rob Smith. Rob Smith was with Schiano when he was with Rutgers the first time. So that's again, he's someone who knows the program, knows Schiano, knows what he wants to do. The defensive line has some holes, but a couple notable guys return. There's a lot of linebackers that are back. And the secondary, honestly, Rutgers actually puts out a really good member from its secondary into the NFL almost every other year, I would say. As it is, there's like 3 or 4 guys from Rutgers in the NFL from the secondary that like are still playing in the NFL and are still really good. Like they, for whatever reason, they just get a good defensive back every couple of years that goes to the NFL.
Well, they need to get good defensive backs because their offense is horrid.
And the big thing, like if you look at stats and you see Rutgers and points and total offense, yards per play that they allow, yards per pass, like it looks terrible. But if you have no offense and you have no pass rush, there's only so much the secondary can do. That's just the reality of it. So Avery Young is, I think he could be an NFL player. He's on the secondary. He's back.
Can I share a story, youngster? I know you like my story.
Sure.
And it's a point about a bad Rutgers team and getting guys in the NFL, right? So when I was coaching college soccer and I was recruiting, there was a player that I had seen in a club team. I'd watched him play club, played on a good club team. And I wanted to go watch in high school with my assistant coach, and I wanted my assistant coach to kind of evaluate him a little bit more. I'm more of a defensive guy, my assistant coach, and this is what coaches do, Kevin. Do you think I hired a coach that was more defensive, or do you think I hired a coach that was more offensive?
I would assume
I'm a defensive guy. Yes. So he was a central midfielder, and he played on a decent club team, and I liked the kid. He was, if you're going to put stars, and you have to remember, I recruited at D3. They didn't really start starring players until after I was done coaching. This guy probably would have been like a 2 or a 3-star, right? But I liked the way he played when I saw him, and I didn't go to recruit him. I was watching a different game, and he just caught my eye because of the way he played the game. And so I saw a little bit of him at this tournament. I'm like, I wanted my assistant coach with me to go to the high school game in the fall. How good do you think his high school team was, Kevin?
Terrible.
Oh, they were the game we went to. They were losing 8-0. I still remember it. But the kid was out there, and the thing is, we eventually got him to come play for us. The reason that team was getting walloped, this guy had nothing around him. Nothing. I mean, he had no options. Soccer has 11 players on the field, 10 in the field and a goalie. You're a soccer guy. This is a central attacking midfielder, Kevin. He had no forwards running diagonal, no forwards checking to the ball, no wings giving him a square pass, nothing in support. Basically, the guy had to try to dribble through the whole team. That's what he had to do, but he kept playing. That's what I liked about this kid. That team was down 8-0. And for 80 minutes, this kid played hard. He never gave up. And I went up to him after the game and said, I want you to come play for me. So the point of the story is Rutgers may suck in the Big Ten. They might get blown out, but you're going to have players that scouts like because they have individual talent and they realize they're not playing at an Ohio State. So I wanted to share that. That's why I think Rutgers does get players in the NFL, even though the team doesn't have great success.
Sure. Makes perfect sense. They also get their defensive backs. I was talking about Avery Young. They also bring in an Ohio State transfer in Brendan White. And if you played at Ohio State, then you have some talent. So just another name to know. Rutgers took Greg Schiano the first time 5 years to just reach a bowl game. That was with Rutgers in the Big East. So I would say, long story short, just give him time. Like, he's not going to rebuild this, if he ever does, in 2 years. It's not going to happen. So
because let's be real, youngster. Let's just look at the Big Ten East. Ohio State lost, Penn State lost, Michigan lost, Michigan State lost. Then you got Indiana. Maybe in 2 years you can beat Indiana. Maryland, Rutgers, right? So you have 2 wins in your conference while you're rebuilding. Then, depending on your crossover games in future years, you're not beating Wisconsin. You're probably not beating Iowa. You're probably not beating Minnesota. You're probably not beating Nebraska. So you better hope that and Northwestern's a solid program.
If
this is
they
a team, Kevin,
get to a
it
bowl
may
game,
take him 5 years again. It may take 5 years again to rebuild it.
Yeah, if they get to a bowl game and get 6 wins, that's phenomenal. That means not only did you go perfect, we're assuming, in your 3 cupcake games, but you also beat 3 Big Ten teams. That's a parade right there for Rutgers, when that happens. So, anyway, they were 61st in recruiting, 13th in the Big Ten. Yes, they were better than Illinois in recruiting, 0 4-stars. And the schedule, I say 0-8 because why not? But there are a couple winnable games. They do get Indiana at home week 2. They play Michigan State week 1 at Michigan State. Michigan State's as down as ever. So with a new head coach, new system. So I don't think it's impossible. Do I think they win?
Well,
no.
You know what? Like I did 2 years in basketball, Kevin. Go Rutgers week 1 Big Ten. Let's go, Rutgers! Let's go!
There you go. You got the old man's approval. So the first couple of weeks are there. Week 3, you play at Ohio State. Week 4, you play Illinois at home. That's a winnable game. Then you play Michigan, you play at Purdue, you play Penn State. And then the last week, week 8, is at Maryland. Again, it's winnable. I don't think they win, but it's winnable. I don't think they beat Illinois, but it's winnable. So if I truly had to pick, I would say 0-8, but it wouldn't shock me if they got 1. It wouldn't. So I think 2 or 3 realistically are possible. So, but anyway.
Well, you said on the crossover they got Purdue and Illinois, right?
Right.
So as bad as Rutgers is, you got a good draw on the crossover. You got Purdue and Illinois.
And you get Illinois at home.
Those are potentially, I'll air quote, those are winnable games.
Right.
At least you didn't get Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Yeah. I think they give up 40 points to Purdue, but that's, we'll see. Anyway, so unless you got more on Rutgers, that's, we spent a good amount of time on Rutgers, which is good.
Well, we went off on the tree branches and all kinds of stuff. Let's pull it back in and go to Maryland. The Maryland, if I'm a quarterback, I don't go to Maryland. I really don't.
Yeah.
Why would I go there? Every quarterback gets hurt.
Right. I think it was 2 years ago. They were on their 5th string, I want to say. I think they got down to their 5th string guy 2 years ago.
Yeah, they did a lot better last year maintaining their quarterback health.
Last year it was better. Their starter still missed some games, but it was not a dumpster fire in terms of, looking up who their 4th string, 5th string quarterback could be. So that was a positive. They went 3-9 a year ago, 1-8 in the Big Ten. Terrible. Mike Locksley, that was his first year as head coach at Maryland. He is from the area. He loves Maryland football. He's, if there's a guy, and this is what I was saying before, if there's a guy that you want to lead Maryland, it would be a guy who spent some time at Alabama, did really good things, obviously, at Alabama, is from the D.C., the Maryland area, loves that area, knows the area, knows recruiting around that area. He did so at Alabama and plucked kids from that area. So he knows and loves that program, and I think he's a capable guy. There's not much more you can ask for if you're looking for a head coach at Maryland, in my opinion. So if there is a guy, just like Rutgers and Schiano, to me, this is the guy. And you're seeing him bring in a 5-star wide receiver this year, an incoming freshman, 5-star wide receiver, going to Maryland. Like, this team is getting talent. They're getting Alabama transfers because of his, line of just his familiarity there and the relationships he built there. And Tua Tagovailoa, his brother, over the offseason, transferred to Maryland. He was a 4-star quarterback. Like, he was at Alabama. Oh, Mike Locksley's there at Maryland? Sure, I'll go there. Like, they're getting guys. They're getting talented guys, 5-star wide receivers. They have guys. They have players. They have a coach who knows and cares. Like, if it's going to happen at Maryland, this is what I'm saying, like, this is the system, the coach it's going to work with. And what does work with mean? Maybe that means 9-3 is their best year ever, and they finished 3rd in the Big Ten East. Maybe that's their top that they can ever hit right now. But if it's going to work, it's going to work with this. Not necessarily this year, but this system, this coach, these types of players. So that's just my opinion. So last year they were 3-2, and then they lost 7 straight. Like I said, Tua's brother Tagovailoa transferred. He could be the starter. I'm assuming he's going to be. Lance Legendre, I would. My apologies for butchering the last name one of the 2 ways. But he's a redshirt freshman. He's talented. He's another guy in the quarterback room that if Talia is not ready, which it sounds like from what I read he is, that's another guy that could step in and be a quarterback. Again, Rakeem Jarrett, 5-star freshman, wide receiver, is incoming. Desean Jones, who I think he had 3 touchdowns. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. I think he had 3 touchdowns in the first game, and then he tore his ACL, I believe, and missed the remainder of last season. He is a really talented guy, as he showed in the first game with 3 touchdowns. He is capable. He is fast. He has hands. He is good. He is back for this season. Dante Demas Jr. stepped up while Desean Jones was injured a year ago in the passing game. So they've got guys that can catch and run with the football. And if you have a capable 4-star, went to Alabama type quarterback, like, okay, there's something to work with there. Again, I'm not saying they're amazing, but as far as talent is concerned, like, if this 4-star plays like a 4-star quarterback and you have a 5-star receiver and you have guys that can make plays on the outside, that's what the top teams in the country resemble from a talent standpoint. So it's just a matter of putting it all together. Running back-wise, they do lose Anthony McFarland to the draft, and now he's on the Steelers, and I love Anthony McFarland as far as a talent. If he was back on this team, I think their offense could really surprise some people. They pushed Ohio State, I think it was 2 years ago. Like, they lost to Ohio State by like a point or 2 because they have talent. It's just a matter of putting it together consistently. Offensive line, realistically, a year ago, it was not good. Their quarterback got beat up. 3 offensive linemen returned. Defensively, it was atrocious a year ago. There's some talented guys that return, but the D-line, it was just bad. It was just bad at everything. It was bad at getting pressure. It was bad against the run. So that's, it's just something that has to get fixed.
Just bad.
One way or another. Yeah. So I'm not going to go into, details too much there, but that's the story with Maryland. They were 31st in recruiting, 6th in the Big Ten. They have the 5-star receiver. They have a couple other 4-stars coming in. Again, like, this team is getting guys. It's just a matter of putting them in the system and them making plays and things happening. So that's, you have the guys. At least they have the guys. This is not some absurdly overmatched team, talent-wise, offensively. Defensively, different story. Offensively, they have guys, but it's just a matter of putting it together consistently. So, that's the story with them. Schedule-wise, realistically, it's not crazy favorable. There are games they should obviously lose. Week 1 at Northwestern, that's a winnable football game. Week 2, you play Minnesota. Week 3 at Penn State. Week 4, Ohio State. That's about as tough as it can get.
That's a great 2-week stretch right there for anyone.
at Penn State and Ohio State. That's wonderful. That's fantastic. That's what you look for every year. After that, they get Michigan State at home. Again, I think that's winnable. The week after that, at Indiana, I think it's winnable. I wouldn't pick them to win, but it's winnable. The week after that, at Michigan, okay, I wouldn't pick that. But to close the year, they get Rutgers at home. So, again, there are some winnable games in there, like Rutgers, I obviously give them the win. And, handpick another one or two in there because they do have some very hard games.
Yeah, and if the pieces fell into place, there could be 4 wins. I mean, that could be 4-4.
I guess 2 and 6.
Yeah,
but
it would have to be the perfect storm, Kevin, is what I'm saying. A perfect storm.
You're
and
right.
The snake charmer would have to come out, blow on his little flute, and watch the boa constrictor come out of the little hive, and everything would have to work. You see how I referenced the snake during the show?
Yes, I did. I appreciated that. But your point being, like, they should lose to Minnesota, they should lose to Penn State, they should lose to Ohio State, they should lose at Michigan. Those are 4 obvious games they should lose. But Northwestern and Michigan State at home and Indiana and Rutgers at home, like, okay, those are winnable games. So maybe I'm being
those are games that they are not going to be embarrassed at. Those are games where they can go out and they can play. And I'm not even going to say they're going to be embarrassed in the others. Well, Penn State and Ohio State, they could be.
Yeah,
but,
probably.
The 4 games I look at, if it's a perfect storm and these guys all gel together, who knows? College football that's why I love college football. You just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. But those are 4 games where they can step on the field with confidence, like we can compete with these guys.
Yeah,
the other 4,
absolutely.
probably not. It's probably still in the back of their head, oh, my God, we're playing Penn State. Oh, my God, we're playing Ohio State. Oh, my God, we're playing Michigan. But the other 4 games, why can't they step on the field and say, we can beat these guys?
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. If it's a perfect world and everything goes right, they could snatch out 4 wins. That might put them in 4th place.
Yeah. You're not crazy there. So, anyway, I'm excited to see this quarterback and the 5-star receiver and Desean Jones back, and I know Dante Demas is probably their 3rd most talented receiver now, and he was good a year ago. So the offense could be actually fun to watch if they get it together. So anyway, Michigan State, last team we'll talk about on today's episode here. Last year they were 7-6 overall. They were 4-5 in the Big Ten, which for Michigan State is just bad compared to where they were a few years ago, and all the transfers that entered the transfer portal, and we talked about that throughout last football season. D'Antonio's gone, and Mel Tucker is here, and Mel Tucker was the head coach at Colorado for a year. Mel Tucker, back in 1997, was at Michigan State as a grad assistant, so that's where he truly started. He played at Wisconsin. He knows the Big Ten. He coached at Miami of Ohio. He has coached at LSU. He has coached at Ohio State. He has coached the Cleveland Browns. He has coached for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has coached for the Chicago Bears. He has coached at Alabama. He's coached at Georgia. He's he's got experience. He's a real name. This is not some just who'd they get? Oh, Mel Tucker. I've never heard of him. Does he have any he has experience. So that's, I think, a positive. I think he's a strong personality. I think that's what Michigan State probably needs. I don't think they needed a 33-year-old, coming from Louisiana Lafayette who, has 1 year of college coaching experience. In my opinion, they kind of needed someone like this. But maybe I'm completely wrong, and maybe they did need some young, fresh, offensive-minded juggernaut to help rejuvenate the offense. Maybe I'm wrong there. But
no, you're not wrong. They can't have a young guy like that, Kevin, because D'Antonio's still in the athletic department.
Yes, he is. Yes. That is true.
And we talked about it. There was an investigation that was going to get underway by the NCAA. And then all of a sudden, D'Antonio resigns, but they said that he's still going to be in the athletic department. So if I'm a young guy and I'm coming in there, I don't want D'Antonio anywhere around the athletic department. I'm just saying that. And I'm taking that from my old coaching experience. I look at the two schools I coached at in college. Had the other coach been on campus, I'd be like, screw that. Why would I want to be around when the other coach is here? I want my stuff. I don't want any other eyes. I don't want him lingering around. I'm sorry. I want to run my program, and I can't do it with another coach here, an old coach here. And so if you're, and I was young when I coached college. I was in my early 30s. So, kind of going to what you're saying, these young guys that maybe are up and coming that have great ideas. No, that would have been my attitude, Kevin. Be like, really? Right. You want me to run this program, but the old coach is still going to be the compliance director? I don't think so. Not going to do it.
Yeah. So with Michigan State, they took Minnesota's offensive coordinator over the offseason, so that's a win in my opinion. Not fantastic for Minnesota, but is what it is there. The offense at Michigan State it seems like 10 years has been atrocious. They were 105th in scoring last year. They were 104th in yards per play. No matter what metric you look at, they were, basically in the hundreds of college football, which is around 130 teams. So, that includes everybody, and you're finishing 105th, 104th.
That's pretty you-know-what.
Yeah. Rocky Lombardi may be the starting quarterback after Brian Lewerke is finally gone. I'd say that's a positive thing, say that's a negative thing. If it was a fantastic thing, Lombardi would have taken over for Lewerke before and, ran with the job. And, he's had some playing time, but to me, he's not this fantastic quarterback. I've seen him throw the football. Sorry, but I don't think this is the guy that helps Michigan State get back to 9-10 wins a year. That's just my opinion. So, again, could be completely
Michigan
wrong.
State, Kevin, needs to go back to what made them successful. Honestly, Michigan State, loyal listeners know I reside in Wisconsin, left Wisconsin, came back to Wisconsin. I'm a Badger fan through and through. Been a Badger fan since I've been like 10 years old. Michigan State needs to get back to Badger football and run the ball, get good offensive line, quarterback play, average to above average, get great running backs, have a great defense. That's Michigan State football. That is what I remember of the good, great Michigan State teams.
I agree.
It's the blueprint of Wisconsin. And that's when I hated Michigan State, when they had good running backs, when they had a great defense. I'm like, no, why? Don't do it. But it for them to be successful, they need to do exactly what Wisconsin does. Good offensive line, great running backs, average to above average quarterback play, and a wonderful defense.
Yeah.
And, we never wished ill will on D'Antonio. We supported him through and through. Yeah. But then in the middle of last year, you and I just got down to it and said, guess what? The message is stale. Yes, it's probably time for him to go. If the players are going in the transfer portal every week, he doesn't have the respect in the locker room anymore. It is time to step away. And that's my only concern about this, Kevin, is the guy's still in the athletic department. I know you want to be loyal to people, but you know what? Sometimes you got to just tear the Band-Aid off. Just tear it. It hurts for a little bit, but guess what? It goes away. I don't understand why they kept him in the athletic department. Yeah. So, this program is in shambles to me right now. Yeah. They may not. They may finish 6th. Maryland may finish ahead of them.
And that's what I was going to say is, like, I like Maryland's offensive potential, and I like Michigan State's defensive potential. I don't like Michigan State's offense, and I don't like Maryland's defense. Like, it's, to me, they're 1A, 1B. They're, on the seesaw going back and forth. To me, that's not some massive Michigan State's defense is more proven than Maryland's offense. That's the difference, realistically. So that's why I guess I have more expectations.
I'm giving the edge to Maryland right here, Kevin. You mentioned it, five-star receiver, to his brother at quarterback. What's Michigan State throwing at him?
Their defense. That's what they're throwing at you. I would not argue you. I would not bet against you if you said Maryland will finish better than Michigan State. I would not bet against you.
I am not going to go on record and put that down on permanent marker. I'm saying Michigan.
I'll even though I said Maryland 2-6, and I have the numbers in front of me of what I thought Michigan State could do. But I would absolutely root for Maryland to finish ahead of Michigan State. That's just a
I'll root for them. I am not going on record saying that Maryland's finishing higher than Michigan State. I just can't do it. Still, your second year in the program, a lot of young guys, a lot of new guys, COVID going on, COVID interrupted practices, not a lot of time on the practice field to get. I can't do it. Not this year. Had it been a normal season, maybe. But I'll tell you, you're going to see, Kevin, some of these newer coaches, some of these programs that are trying to gel, this limited practice time and shutting down facilities and all of these things, it's going to affect them.
Yeah.
We see it. I mean, your Tennessee Titans, they didn't blink an eye. Yeah, they started off a little slow against the Bills, but then they demolished them, and they had to shut down their facilities for how many days? But those are professional players.
Yeah.
The
Ravens are really good. The Packers are still really good. The Chiefs are still really good. Like there hasn't been much change on those rosters, those coaching staffs. The 49ers are, night and day from last year, but that's because they have 38 guys injured. So I don't really take them into effect there. But, yeah, I think continuity is big, is my point, from last year to this year in the sport of football because of the offseason we've had. So, yeah, I agree with you there. For the rest of Michigan State's offense, Elijah Collins is back as a starting running back, which I think is a good thing. I think he's good enough. Cody White, the team's best receiver, left for the NFL, so that's not ideal from an offense that was terrible a year ago. The leading returning receiver had 216 yards receiving last year.
Woo!
So that's not great. Multiple tight ends return. So that's, some familiarity there. 10 guys from the offensive line who started games last year. Again, 10 guys from the offensive line who started games last year return.
Well, they had a lot of injuries last year, if you remember, youngster.
Right.
Not only did they lead the Big Ten in transfer. Why can't I say transfer portal today? I screw it up every time. Not only did they lead the Big Ten in the transfer portal, I think they led the Big Ten in injuries. Every week we were talking about this guy for Michigan State, this guy for Michigan State, this guy for Michigan State. So it was a bad year for D'Antonio. And again, I go back to what I said 10 minutes ago. This program is in shambles.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
So they have familiarity on the offensive line. It is my point there. The defense. It was good last year. It wasn't unbelievable. They did give up 30-plus points 5 times.
It was not defense. A Michigan State, Kevin. It was not a Michigan State defense that we're used to.
Right, and part of it, too, is the offense being that terrible puts more pressure on the defense, for sure. But, yeah, it wasn't some elite top 5 in the country defense, for sure. 6 total defensive all-conference level players, first team, second team, honorable mention, whatever. 6 of them left, whether that's NFL, whether that's transfer, whether that's a graduation. 6 of those guys are gone from last year. 3 guys off the defensive line. 2 notable linebackers are gone. Secondary, I think a couple guys
they
left
had
as well.
6 players. You said I didn't interrupt you right away because I was looking into the sky, and I wanted to make sure I heard you right, and I had to replay it in my head. They had 6 defensive players on all conference teams last year.
Again, there's first team, second team, honorable mention, so keep that in mind. And it's Michigan State's defense.
I understand that. Kevin, I understand that. That's 33 positions. There is 14 teams in the Big Ten. How in the world did they get 6 players in the all-conference voting?
Defensive,
not that good.
Defensive,
you
I can
just mentioned
understand.
in 5 games they gave up 30 points or more.
Yeah. Well, maybe the voting's terrible.
Oh my gosh!
But they had
if
talented
you have
guys
that many guys on an all-conference team, your defense should be like 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the conference.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're not wrong. And again, they finished 18th in total defense. So it's still pretty good, realistically. But they had 5 teams, pound them. So there's, I don't know. But anyway, so again, they lose.
Yeah, they had 5 teams pound,
guys.
and then they played the cupcakes. And well, I shouldn't say that because even their cupcake schedule last year. I'm done. Just continue. I got to get off this. I'm getting all worked up. You can tell. I'm getting loud. Oh my gosh.
One name I'll mention, Antoine Simmons is a linebacker. He's very talented. He was good a year ago. He made plays. He's back. So that's probably your leader, I would say, defensively for this team going forward. So that's helpful. But recruiting, 44th nationally, 10th in the Big Ten, 0 4-stars. That doesn't mean everything, but at the same time, when you're undergoing a new scheme and a new coach and new everything, like, you want to have some talented guys to lean on. And if 6 guys that were talented a year ago left and you don't have unbelievable talent coming in, I don't know. I mean, the defense, I'm sure it's Michigan State's defense. I'm sure it'll be good. But I don't think it's going to be great, and the offense isn't going to be good. So I don't know. I really don't know about this Michigan State team. But the schedule, they open up again at home against Rutgers. That's positive for you. The next 2 weeks they're going to lose at Michigan, at Iowa. You're going to lose. Okay. The week after that you get Indiana at home. Okay. You can go 2-2 there. Next week at Maryland. Realistically, if you're Michigan State, you could be 3-2. The week after that, you're home against Northwestern. Okay, it could be 4-2.
Could be 4-2.
So, again, I think Maryland could be better. They're definitely going to be more exciting. I could like Maryland more this year. Maryland could finish 2-6, and Michigan State could be 4-2 after the first 6 weeks. So then they play Ohio State and Penn State to end it. So have fun. But they're going to be feeling really good, and you're going to have Michigan State fans being like, "Hey, 4-2, okay,
we're 4-2. Woo,
we're hosting.
4-2. We're rolling along.
We're hosting.
And bam, bam, bam. Like a left and a
we're
right.
Hosting Ohio State.
Boom, one punch in the kahoonies.
Right. Then you're going to lose 49-10. Hopefully, they scored 10 points against Ohio State and 10 points against Penn State. I don't know if they will, but. Anyway, so they have winnable games on their schedule. They probably will finish realistically ahead of Maryland, though that game at Maryland could be the difference maker. But anyway, their schedule is as favorable as you could probably want it to be. Realistic.
There's some toss-up games, and Kevin, I mentioned it on the second preview show. So people listening in, if you like the preview show, go to Youngster Old Man on Twitter. We are doing the preview, and I mentioned it on the second preview, Youngster. The Big Ten is so competitive. The East is top-heavy. You have your top 10. national title contenders. But in the West, you just have good teams, just good programs. Yeah, there's a couple teams at the bottom, but do I really want to put Northwestern at the same level as Rutgers and Maryland? No, I won't do it. Do I want to put Purdue down in that level right now? No. Offensively, they're one of the only teams, maybe outside of Maryland, that is trying to run pro style in the Big Ten, which is normally dominating defense, offensive lines, running. But you look at the West, I'm not throwing teams down at the level of Rutgers and Maryland.
Yeah.
And so it's just, you look at it, and you look at Michigan State, they have games they can win. But it is such a shambled program right now. So many question marks, everything going on, new coach, Mel Tucker coming in, D'Antonio around the facilities, blah, 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 NCAA investigations. Oh, there is a lot of external things going on. So I can't sit here and say, yeah, you know what? Michigan State, no. But there are games they can win. There are games they can win. The thing is, you're a new coach coming in at Michigan State, Mel Tucker. Love the guy. He's a former Badger. I told you, I know Mel Tucker. Watched Mel Tucker play. COVID season. What did you really accomplish? They had COVID, positive test. They shut it down, canceled the season. How much can he implement right now, Kevin? That's my thing. So now you got your guy, the new coach. You had the D'Antonio era, and now you got Mel Tucker, but it was on again, on, off again, on again, on, off, on. We don't know what's going on. It's not, you got to have a solid foundation. He hasn't had a chance to do that yet. I just think it could be a very long season for Michigan State fans. Yeah, there's 4 winnable games, but those are also 4 losable games. Not saying they're going to go 0-8 because they play Rutgers. But if in week 1, Kevin, just think about this. Think about this in week 1. Next weekend, what if Rutgers beats Michigan State?
Oh, that would be.
What if Michigan State loses to Rutgers? Then you only got 3 games. Then you only have 3 games that are winnable, but also losable. I'm not putting any of this in permanent marker. Could you see Michigan State 0-8? I don't think so, but you never know. You have Mel Tucker taking over Michigan State, right? Here's where I'm going with this. Mel Tucker taking over Michigan State. Yeah, D'Antonio's in the building. Did those players respect D'Antonio? Guess what? If they did, he wouldn't be in the athletic facility. He'd be the head coach. Sherrano, NFL coach, been at Rutgers before, a guy that's going to bring positivity to the program, going to get these kids to play well, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Go ahead and bust their buns for him because he's a proven guy, and these players are like, you know what, this guy coached here before. He brought us to a bowl game. He turned this program around. He's going to do it again. And they're out there all rah, 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 fired up. Oh, Mel Tucker played at Wisconsin, went to Colorado. D'Antonio's still here. Guess what? I might give the edge to Rutgers, Kevin, in week 1.
We'll talk about it next week.
I just wanted to throw that out there. When you look at the head coaches, they're both new. And with this COVID season, you didn't have all that time on the field. So what do you have? All you have is a coach with Zoom calls and social distancing and getting players to buy into what you're doing. Which one of those coaches, I'm going to ask you this question, then we can end the show. Which one of those coaches in week 1, Kevin, are the players buying into?
I agree. It's definitely Schiano. He brings the more positive light as opposed to Mel Tucker. So, yeah, I agree with you 100% there. And if Michigan State, honestly, I mean, they get the ball first, they go 3 and out because their offense is terrible. And then Rutgers, I mean, yeah, you could stop them, but what if your offense goes 3 and out again? And then what if Rutgers, scores? And then Michigan State's offense just looks like crap. It's like, oh, here we go again. Like, the defense has to carry us. New head coach, fantastic. The offense still sucks. Yeah, I don't think it's impossible. Would I pick Michigan State? Yeah. So if you're going with Rutgers, I will disagree with you. But I do agree 100% that there is much more positivity at Rutgers than there is Michigan State right now, for sure.
I don't know. I might. Oh man, I might transfer money to my friends in PA and have them go on DraftKings Sportsbook under my account and put money on Rutgers. I want to wait to see what the line says.
I was just going to say, I'm curious what the line would be.
Next week we're going to do our prediction show.
Yes, we will.
Hopefully, we'll finish up with Indiana, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, and then hopefully we can do 2 shows next week. I don't know. I thought this was going to be a snoozer show. I'll admit that, but we went over an hour. You got me all worked up, and I don't know why. I thought you were. Oh man. Over the bottom 3 teams in the Big Ten East. You got me all up.
Troy, not that I wasn't paying attention to you, but I was listening. I was looking up to see if the spread was out, and it is out. And it's interesting.
Let me guess. So. Hold on.
Okay. Michigan State's at home against Rutgers.
Yeah, the loyal listeners know we do this every week. Michigan State at home, Rutgers going to Michigan State. I will say I can't imagine they favor Rutgers, but I'll say Michigan State at home only by 6.5.
They're 11.5-point favorites. They got to win by 2 touchdowns.
I'm taking Rutgers.
There you go.
I am taking Rutgers in the points.
I figure. Yeah. So.
Well, and here's the thing, youngster. Just go back to what you said 20 minutes ago. Rewind the show. This offense at Michigan State, so many question marks.
Yeah.
So many question marks.
Yep.
And you now have a former NFL coach on the other sideline running up the program. And those guys are going to be playing for him. They're going to listen to everything that he's said.
Yeah.
The guy built a program up at Rutgers. At Rutgers, he built a program up, then went to the NFL. Not going to get into his career there. I'm going to keep relying on this with these players. He will get Rutgers back to, I don't even want to say competitive, Kevin, just because you look at what's going on in the Big Ten. 4 wins for Rutgers, 5 wins, okay.
They're going to obviously try. They're going to put forth effort. And especially in college, that means something. Just because the Bengals put up effort in the NFL doesn't really mean anything. They'll probably go 3-13. But in college, if you can put together effort and you care and you want to win, you truly want to help yourself, your head coach, guys around you, you can buy some wins in there. And in college football, there's only so many games. So, yeah, I think it means something.
And I do think it means something to these players. And I brought that story up earlier in the show about the kid that I wanted on my team, even though his team sucked, because he was out there busting his bun.
Right.
And I think these players, and that's where I'm going with this, is these players believe in him. They believe in him. It's just going to take him a long time to build the program and get the program up to 4th place. I mean, I could see him getting them up to 4th place, maybe 5th place, but nothing higher than that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anything else, youngster? We got to go.
If you like coffee, visit innerpeakcoffee.com. They are the official sponsor of all the shows that we do. So check out interpeakcoffee.com. Use the promo code SPORTS. There's always free shipping on everything. So it's good stuff.
You have 10% off if you use the promo code SPORTS. All right, youngster, we're going to rock and roll. I will throw this out again because it is something I think would be pretty cool. If you are 25 years or younger in that generation and you aspire to do a podcast or sports media or broadcasting, contact us at Youngster Old Man on Twitter. We would love to do a segment, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z. I think it would be pretty cool, youngster. Just throwing it out at the end. Maybe somebody will bite, and we can do it. I don't know, after today's show, you getting me all worked up. I can only imagine. Can you imagine that? A 22-year-old, an 18-year-old sitting over on the other end of this conversation? Holy cow. We might have to have, like, medical personnel in the car with me when I'm doing my show. You get me all worked up. I can only imagine. Why did I even suggest this? Why did I even do that? Holy cow. Oh, if I thought I had gray hair now, we had a 20-year-old to the mix. This could be a, whew. Okay, hopefully you like to go today. Kevin Cunningham. I am Old Man Troy. We'll get back at you next week. Same place, same time. Have a good day, everybody.